Good morning. I'll call to order the March 20th meeting of the March 20th, 2024 meeting regularly scheduled of the Nevada Taxicab Authority Board. The record should reflect that members Graff, Decker, Vice Chair Soderberg, and myself, Dan Reeser, are present. Member Decker, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've reviewed notices of posting, confirmations of receipts. They appear to be in order. Madam Secretary, you're in agreement that this matter's been properly noticed?
Yes.
Under the open meeting law. Thank you. Our first item of business would be to take public comment. This matter is on the agenda pursuant to the Nevada open meeting law and is for the purpose of the public to provide comment, information, or other data that they wish to bring to the board's attention. We may not take action on any of those matters at this time, but we would welcome any member of the public who wishes to address us. Is there any member of the public in the room today that would like to make public comment? Seeing none, is there anybody participating remotely who would like to provide public comment?
No,
There's nobody remotely who wants to comment, so I'll close the first public comment session. The next item for our action today is approval of the February 22nd, 2024 board meeting minutes. Members have had an opportunity, or if they need an additional moment to look at it, I'd entertain a motion if we're ready to go.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded, Decker and Soderberg, to approve the minutes of the February 22nd meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next item of business is industry discussion. This matter is routinely on our agenda so that we can take information, comments, questions, concerns of members of the industry. And we would open it up if there are members of the industry that wish to address us at this time. Is there any member of the industry remotely that wants to address us?
No.
We'll close agenda item number 4. That takes us to agenda item number 5. This is the public hearing, special event surcharge for taxi cab rides pursuant to an application as noted in the agenda to modify taxi rates to include a special event surcharge for services provided during specified hours commencing March 20th, that's today, through March 25th of round 1 of the 2024 men's NCAA basketball tournament. And if you would make appearances and put your names on the record.
Sir. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Acting Administrator Parks. For the record, I'm Kimberly Maxson Rushton with the law firm Cooper Levinson, appearing on behalf of the applicant carriers who collectively are members of the Livery Operators Association. And starting to my left is Mr. Rich Franks, and I'll ask him to introduce himself and his company will go down the line.
Rich Frakes, General Manager for Desert Cab, Virgin Valley. I'm just standing in for George in case you had any questions for Desert Cab.
Cheryl Gibbons with Whittlesey Blue Cab and Henderson Taxi.
Michael Balin with Yellow Checker Star, Blue Cabs 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. If we could, before I begin our permanent presentation, Chair, I just wanted to make a quick housekeeping note. Unfortunately, Mr. Balaban was not able to join us today, but as Mr. Frakes has said, he's available if there are any specific questions relative to Desert Cab or Virgin Valley. Also, we regularly have representatives here from Captain based on the statistical information that we provide. They're joining us today telephonically, but not present. So just wanted to make that note for the record. Thank you again for the members of the Taxicab Authority Board. This is an application requesting authority to modify taxi rates, specifically to add a tier 2 fuel surcharge fee consistent with round 1 of the 2024 men's basketball tournament. As you know, and as set forth in the application, this is a very busy time in Las Vegas, specifically in and around the Strip, based on the fact that you do have the beginning of the basketball tournament, as well as the fact that it generally falls within spring break holiday. And so in order to incentivize drivers to work for the taxi companies versus operating their own vehicles for TNCs, the carriers seek to impose the surcharge, excuse me, in order to, again, incentivize them to work during this peak period. Set forth in the application, this is filed pursuant to 706.909, and specifically it does not supersede any other fees or the rates that are being imposed. Again, it's a tier 2, it's an add-on. There is no need for any modifications relative to the existing zones, but the surcharge is consistent with the F1, and the Super Bowl surcharge would go into effect when the taxis are operating in between the zones and then coming in and out of the specific zones. Unlike the last 2 surcharge applications before you, this one has intermittent time periods. This is based on the observations of the carriers during the F1 and the Super Bowl surcharge, and it's intentionally meant to attract, again, drivers during those peak periods when we know that passengers are looking for that taxi service in and around the Strip, but not otherwise gouge people in those times when there's not so much demand. So I think, again, that this application is further refining the 2 that you had previously before you. It demonstrates, again, a recognition of where the operations are, what the needs are for the community, and it truly serves the public interest by ensuring that we have capable, reliable transportation services for our many visitors during this peak weekend. And with that, Chair, if I may, I could like to turn it over to Ms. Gibbons to continue the affirmative presentation.
Good morning. I had already presented to the board, and I'm not sure if Member Graff received a copy. Chair, we actually asked Captain to develop some statistics relative to all vehicles that have the DT5 meters. Aside from Cabot, which is the dispatching operations that the 3 of us actually share, these statistics also include stats from A-Cab and Deluxe Cab as they operate DT5 meters as well. Even though they're not a part of Cabot, they are a part of the Captain stats that you're looking at this morning. And we wanted to show that, in all honesty, this is probably the 3rd or 4th busiest time of the year for us, March Madness, the first round and going into the second round. And I wanted to illustrate, or we wanted to illustrate, the week before March Madness, the week after, and the week of, with these stats going back to 2017. Obviously, 2020 is absent for obvious reasons. But it's, when you look at this graph, it's very clear that with the exception of 2021, every single year from 2017, we see a significant increase in the number of trips operated by the taxis during this peak time of March Madness. The dates and the times that we decided on are really due to the fact that we know that people are going to be out partying. There's going to be a lot of college crowds here, a lot of bettors here, and they move around and go from sportsbook to sportsbook or event to event during the day, and then they go out and party at night. But after 2 a.m., that pretty much is it. So we really saw no reason to do this on a 24-hour cycle like we did with F1 and with Super Bowl. We're trying to refine and get to as tight a quarter as we can on these times, because we don't want to have the public perceive that we are trying to gouge them or to overcharge them. We think that the $10 is reasonable based on what we had actually done in the past. I know that the board has a concern that we're almost in here every month doing these applications now, and I realize it's a tedious process. Once we get through about a year of these events, it's our intention to file one application for the entire year's worth of events, so that we don't have to do this every month, and have all the stats for what we've already done, starting with F1. So once we get closer to F1 2024, we anticipate filing that application to where, we can get this more fine-tuned between now and then. And at that point, I'll pass it on to Mike and then Rich, and we'll answer any questions.
Taxi management definitely supports this. We definitely find when we've done these surcharges, it definitely gets us more drivers out on the road instead of driving for Uber. During these times, they're going to drive for us because they could just make more money. And so we really would like to see this get approved.
Right, Desert Cab, we see the same statistic, like we're having more lease drivers they want to lease. We've already got guys coming in to try to get more. We are anticipating the weekend just to be a strong weekend in general, so we're already having guys to try to come in to work extra days. So we're already filling some of those gaps.
Well, and as a side note, I think the stats from Super Bowl really did hit home because it was obvious we were able to get a lot more shifts out during Super Bowl this year versus last year. Whether or not the impact of the Super Bowl actually being here had as, what level of impact that had versus the fact that we just offered the surcharge. I think as we move forward with each of these events, if we can see each time that we're getting more shifts out, whether the event is happening here in Las Vegas, as with F1 and Super Bowl, or it's just an annual event like March Madness, I think we're going to be able to really fine tune it even more.
And that concludes our affirmative presentation, Chair. If you'd like me to, I'm happy to specifically state on the record the times and the dates as designated or as requested specific to the Tariff 2.
That is the second item. You have an exhibit you want to move in, and is this the exhibit?
Yes, sir. At this time, we'd like to present the statistical information relative to March Madness going back from 2017.
So that'll be marked as Exhibit 1. Without objection. Entered. And then also, yeah, if you put on the record just to confirm times that you are asking for.
Yes, sir. What I'd also like to do is, it's on behalf of Henderson Taxi and Willsey Bell, present the proposed rate cards that will go in the car. Those will specifically enumerate the times. So effective starting today at 2 o'clock, the surcharge fee will go into effect. It'll continue until 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. It'll pick up again at 8 a.m. on Thursday morning and continue through 2 a.m. on Monday morning, and then again resume at 5 a.m. on Monday morning through 12 p.m. So it'll end at noon on Monday. And we consider these to be pass-through time periods. So that's why you see the time from 8 to 2. So again, we've demonstrated these to Administrator Parks. I believe that there were no objections. We asked all of the carriers to do so in anticipation of being able to launch today. And I believe Administrator Parks, that was done to your satisfaction.
Correct, yes.
Sir. So if it's acceptable, Chair, would you like me, I'd like to move for Exhibit 2 would be the proposed rate card. Yes, sir.
I'd like to just reiterate, just so that it's really clear on the record. March 20th, the surcharge will be in effect from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. March 21st, from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. March 22nd, from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. March 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. March 24th, from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. And then March 25th, from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. I only asked you that because it almost sounded like you said it was
I know.
went completely through. So
And again, I wanted the record to be clear that too about the.
So I have a question on that. It's actually Monday morning at 2 a.m. It's not Sunday morning at 2 a.m.
Correct.
that would be correct. That's why I stated the actual date itself as opposed to the day of the week.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the only other.
Yeah, do you have just one copy? Is that it?
Yes, we had submitted this during industry discussion at the last board meeting,
Oh, it's
but
the
this
same
was
document.
approved by the administrator, and all of the companies already have them in to be prepared if this is approved. And the signage at the airport is completed as well, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
that was my next question, is board members are looking at this, and you have similar signage.
Yes, with the Taxicab Authority's logo on it. The airport signage looks exactly as the rate card, and they're in my office, ready to be installed if approved.
So the sample rate card that you just handed out will be marked as 2 without objection.
Well, is this right? I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I think it's 3:25 at 2 a.m.
Yes.
So we need to
Yeah.
change that.
Can that be changed, or is it too late?
The airport.
For the airport signage, yes, I mean, yes. The rate cards themselves, that would be the challenging one.
Because they've already been printed.
Yeah, they were approved and everything was printed already.
Mine aren't printed.
Well, and I think the reason that no one caught it and it was approved is because it's the actual starting date starts on that day.
Oscar. 12 to 2 a.m.
Are the cards laminated? Can we just print or laminate at 5 and put it over the 4? I know it's going to get torn off because it will, but is that possible? I guess would be my suggestion. Somebody's going to get charged on the 25th, and they're going to be like, your sign says
Yep.
it doesn't go through the 24th.
So I guess my view is, instead of trying to do a Band-Aid, is it's not gonna be in place on Sunday morning.
Well, I think if the issue, Chair, is with respect to just modifying the rate cards, I think the industry would rather go to the extra expense and the time to modify the rate cards and be able to have it operational on Sunday, because that is such a peak day.
Yes.
I mean, that's round 2.
Oh, so you think you can print rate cards,
I
new
think that-
rate cards?
I think that they would rather go to that expense than not have the ability to have the surcharge on that
And what are you
day.
gonna do with the sign? Put a piece of cardboard over it or something?
Well, actually, I can get a sticker and put it over the date.
Yeah, they can print that pretty quick.
Yes.
So I'm of the same mind. If you want to make that change,
Yes, sir.
but this isn't we're gonna have disputes over this. Everybody okay with that? I mean, any questions? We're not-
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. Sorry, were you gonna go?
I had no questions.
Okay. So I noticed that the surcharge is the same across the recent events in which you requested it. That's good, I think, for consistency. It shows that you kind of landed on the target as to what is effective. My guess is that the surcharge is going to be effective based on geography. So I think the events that you guys have requested on are generally on or near the Strip. There may be differences if they're downtown or Fremont Street versus, say, the Speedway. So I guess we kind of still have to figure that out, but I would just suggest that maybe that be taken into consideration if you request surcharges on events that are not the same spot. I'm not a huge fan of breaking up the days and times. I understand what you're trying to do and the benefit of the doubt to the public, but I think it could be more confusing to people than just having the surcharge through the event. You guys still have to service the regular population of tourists and locals during the off times, but I guess see how that works.
Questions? Further questions?
No.
No questions.
So
On the actual rate card itself, since it actually starts at 8 a.m. but goes through 2
I already
a.m.,
moved in.
the date actually needs to be changed.
No,
Monday
but
the
it's in,
25th,
and they're gonna,
because it could be misread. I know it was all approved.
So this is correct.
Well, actually, this should actually be,
yeah.
just a 5.
yeah. So you need to change this part right here from a 4 to a 5.
But I think
under
that
8 years.
if I change that.
And I'll hit all of the airport signage.
I think we're good.
Last one's 5 AM.
Oh, sorry.
Should be really 12 AM.
It's not
Pardon? Just stand at ease for a
12
moment.
A. Should be 12 AM on this.
Well, no, the day of the week isn't on it, on the signage. It's just a physical
That's
date.
why I looked at this.
So literally, it's just, that needs to be
You
changed.
notice,
Yeah, on the actual rate card and the airport signage.
Okay.
So, hey,
Just the morning?
is this the one we're marking, or are we gonna wait?
so for the record, this is going to be marked as 2. Council,
Yes,
this is
sir.
going to be marked as 2. I'm going
Well-
to reserve an exhibit
I was about to say
3, and you're going to provide this,
media.
correct?
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
As soon as I
correct.
get back to the office.
Okay.
Can I just clarify it on the order? So basically Monday, March 5th, the surcharge would be in effect,
March 5th?
sorry, 25th, from midnight to 2 AM, and then 5 AM to noon?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't all day till midnight. Okay.
So to follow up on Member Decker's question, there's going to be a 3-hour period on Sunday morning from 2:01
Monday
I'm sorry, on Monday, yeah, 2:01 AM to 5 AM, during which the surcharge will not apply.
Correct.
Okay, so
And I think by trying to fine tune this, we've convoluted it even more.
And that's what I was saying. I think it's confusing than just
Yeah.
having on these days, there'll be a surcharge in place.
Point well
I
taken.
think you're doing the right thing by trying to give the public the benefit of the doubt and determine when you won't have peak hours, but the reality is that you guys just aren't as limber as the TNC, computer generated algorithms, and because of all the signs that you have to post and it's probably easy to program the meters, but for the public to understand, if I'm here for March Madness, I get into a taxi, I do not want to read and understand all that stuff. Take me where I'm going, let me know how much it's going to cost. So I think with the best intentions, it might just be easier in the future just to do on these days.
I believe that's probably correct, Member Decker. I will say, for the purposes of this pilot program, where we're doing these pilots, this might generate some interesting, instructive statistics.
Right. Experiential data.
In part, you may not like what I'm going to tell you the statistic may be, number of complaints.
Gotcha.
So we might see, Administrator, a spike in complaints on Monday's rates. So,
Well, and again, for the record, Kimberly Maxon Rushton, Chair and members of the board, it's exactly as Member Decker said. The taxi industry does not have the flexibility to modify the rates. And so the objective is that when there's not a peak period, why do the surcharge? And you're right. I mean, it's finding that balance between wanting to ensure that we serve the public properly and not gouge them or be perceived as gouging them, but also the public perception of you cut this off for 3 hours, the timing's odd. So I guess the end note is to say thank you for the opportunity to allow us to continue to massage this application process and this modification of the rates. I think the objective is really meant, like I said before, to ensure the safety of the traveling public and the public interest is being met. But as we do this, we appreciate the relationship that we can have with the board and working together, and especially with respect to Administrator Parks and his guidance. So we'll continue to do that, report back to you the statistics on April 8th. I believe your next meeting is on April 17th. And hopefully we'll get some, again, further clarification of how we can continue to do this and do it better.
are there any other questions?
No. Not for me. No.
I would entertain a motion, but I will tell the board members that the order has already been written. Ms. Rushton provided a draft, and there's 11 ayes. So we're going to stand these so the board members can look at the order for a minute. And I have eliminated the error. Oh, it's fine. Okay, you want to look at the rest of them? So just stand, we'll just stand at these for a moment.
I was asking you to look at it so that I could just read it and do the motion.
Oh, you don't, you can just move the order in.
Yeah. So it's in two places, just FYI.
3 places. Good catch.
And maybe in the spirit of March Madness, you send it over and under SCD. Too soon?
Not too soon. I will also interlineate 2 additional exhibits were entered. Ms. Rushton, do you want to inspect before I sign it? No, before there's a motion at least? Presaging how people will vote.
Thank you, Chair.
Hearing no additional questions, I'd entertain a motion if there is one.
I'll move to adopt the order as amended.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Been moved and seconded by Graf Soderberg. Any further discussion? My only discussion is I'd like to avoid all this last minute business in the future. So industry, I'm not sure I will support a application on this kind of a time frame again. My colleagues can do whatever they want to do. Any further comment? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Now I'm going to sign the order. We're going to stand these so that this can get, we only have a limited period of time to get this up for this.
And we'll start working on the rate cards and get copies over to Administrator Parks ASAP. And the airport signage.
She's coming.
Oh, she's coming.
She's on her way to get it going.
Just so that it takes a couple hours for this to get
Sure.
up.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And it's starting.
I don't think we have anything else on this matter, so is everybody good?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. That'll take us to agenda item number 6. And this is the public hearing on the joint application of Iliadis Post Road LLC and Sarah LLC for authority to transfer interests in certificate holders, Taxi Transport LLC, Cab Transport LLC, and 21st Century Taxi LLC. And if you'd make your appearances for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Administrator, members of the board and staff. Michael Balin, Yellow Checker Star, new cabs 1, 2, 3, and 4. To my left is Sheila Robertson. She wears many hats at our company, but they do include senior paralegal and legal secretary to the board of directors.
Do you have any affirmative presentation you want to make?
Well, I was just gonna provide, oh, Sheila Robertson, I was just gonna provide a little history in case there was any confusion regarding the application on their behalf. When Yellow Checker Star purchased Frias for the Frias companies in 2019, then the TA had said that they needed to be kept separate. So we formed 4 new companies, which was YCS Acquisition, Taxi Transport, Cab Transport, and 21st Century, 3 of those which are included in this application. The 6 owners gave us individual entities to place in those cab companies. On our era, we did not place a steering in all of the 4 cab companies. That's what it was formed for. We put a steering in one, which it still exists right now, which is YCS Acquisition, and then Eliottis Post Road was named as the owner in the other 3, which are part of this application: Cab Transport, Taxi Transport, and 21st Century. So we're here to help them correct that, and that's the whole purpose of this joint. Ownership remains the same. That's pretty much it. Unless you have any other questions.
So I have a couple of questions that are in the form of, I've done what analysis I think is correct, but I need you to tell me, and it's to the same point you're making. These are transfers that basically sync the ownership structure up to what it should have been at the time of the Frias acquisition.
That is correct.
And that acquisition was when?
2019.
March 19th, 2019.
And so there's not really a transfer to new persons.
No.
And the transfers being made also sync to the estate planning documents for the LLC ownership.
That is correct.
Before I put exhibits into the record, do the other board members have questions? No questions?
No question.
Do you have them?
I think it'd be helpful in the future that if we have these types of transfers and that sort of thing, this may be directed more towards Mr. Park, is the fact that we should have like a organizational chart, maybe, so that we can look at that and maybe do this. And I respect and understand and agree, after looking through all this stuff and seeing the multi-layers of trust and everything else, that it is what you have just said. But I think it would have been easier if we would have just had an organization and layers of owners and that sort of thing. And that's just, it's not difficult to do, and it's a little bit easier just on the eyes and on the brain.
I agree 100%. As the only non-attorney on the board, I agree.
So as an attorney on the board, I also agree. If you were in front of the banking commissioner or the mortgage lending commissioner or the PUC or the gaming commission, your application would have required that and would have been rejected without it. So what I would say is we ought to amend that TOI application to require a before and an after wire diagram.
Yeah.
Administrator.
Yes, thank you.
So any other, I'm going to just make the administrative record in here. The administrative record in this matter is going to be comprised of the following items. Public, and Ms. Webb will keep me straight if my memory on this is wrong. The public items will be what are marked as exhibits A, B, and C as applications in our package. That will be a public document. Those items marked in our packet as background and financials will be designated as exhibit D and will be confidential. I'm sorry, not D.
We can start on J.
Yeah, that'll be exhibit J. Thank you. The items identified in our packet as notice and law, those are the public notices and whatnot. Those will be K. Those are public. The document called description is a staff memo, which I'm not going to mark. It's a staff memo to us that basically says this is what they're doing here. And so that's going to be deemed a confidential internal exhibit. Huh?
Which tab is that?
That's the tab called description. It's just a staff memo. That's helpful. That's not going to be marked as an exhibit. Exhibit D is the personal applications of individuals, which contain some confidential information. Those will be maintained as confidential. Exhibit E are CPCNs and public licensing documents and good standings. Those are all public documents, so Exhibit E will be a public exhibit. Exhibit F are confidential documents. They show the intended certificates of LLC ownership that will be issued as a result of this transaction, and those are confidential to the corporation or to the entities. Exhibit G are non-public corporate documents that have been provided to us to establish the story that we have here, and those will be confidential. Exhibit H is a confidential operating agreement and will remain so. And Exhibit I are the Drop Services Trust Agreement, a private document which will remain confidential. I'm at L, right? L will be a binder prepared for us that have various trust documents that are part of a private estate planning program, which were provided to us, and that will be exhibit L. With the exception of A, B, and C, and E, all documents will be deemed confidential under the state statute and regulation. If without objection, I'd move A through L into the record.
No objection.
Any objection by the applicant?
Sir.
That will be deemed the administrative record in this matter. And with that, we can take action if any board member is so inclined.
I'll move that we approve the joint application as filed. And I'd like to say, based on Ms. Robinson's description, because I was confused as hell right up to that point. So, but now that I got it, I'm happy to make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Vice Chair Soderberg, second by Member Decker. Is there any further discussion, questions, concerns, puzzlements?
I guess the one question or concern that I would have is, and one caveat, I guess, to your motion, would be some of these trusts are revocable and some of the operating agreements can be amended. So I guess we approve with the caveat that if there are any amendments or changes, that they notify the authority.
I would accept that as an amendment to my motion.
Anything else?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Go in peace.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 7, which is staff reports and other business.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Member Soderberg last meeting was very excited about us being almost completely up to staff. And then the sun went down. Actually, we're still in pretty good shape. And I've got an amazing staff that has really pitched in. We've had some people retire, we've had some people leave state service, but we've already hired a couple of people that just started yesterday. And then the fun, great news, and you've heard me talk about it for the last few months, the 4 new positions for enforcement. I submitted the request to fill yesterday. So we'll have about a month-long recruitment and then see if we can get those 4 positions filled as well. So we're actually in pretty good shape employee-wise. I just really want to take this time to thank the staff that we have at the TA. These guys have been amazing. People have stepped in and picked up the slack over these past several months where we've kind of fluctuated with employees and trying to get people trained and things like that. And I'm just so blessed to have the staff that we have. I also want to thank our administrative attorney. She has, her and her staff have been able to come in and clean up and catch up everything that has been kind of in the wings since we went for so long without having an administrative attorney staff. So thank you. Last week I met with the management over at the Sphere. Since I've taken on this role, I've heard several times from the industry that the taxi cab stand at the Sphere was basically non-existent. And we were able to meet last week. They've got a plan in place, and I will send it out to the industry probably today or tomorrow. I think you'll be very happy where the taxi cab stand is going to be. It's on the east side of the Sphere, and it's right by the front doors, basically. And the only caveat is during F1, it's right in the middle of the racetrack. So we're going to have to, do something during F1, but otherwise, during the hours of service that the Sphere is open, starting next Monday, they're still waiting to get the signage and everything and the people in place, but starting next Monday is when they're going to open that taxicab stand up. Took 7 vehicles, took custody of 7 vehicles that we've ordered yesterday. They're in the process of getting fitted with the police equipment and things like that. So we'll see how those 7 vehicles, it's kind of a change of your traditional law enforcement vehicles, and we'll see how those work. But I have a plan B if those don't work as well. So we have a language study going on right now that has been requested from the federal government, and it ends the end of this month. And as of right now, we have over 30 dialects that are being spoke in our industry. So it's kind of interesting information, and we'll see where that leads us. We're hoping that there may be some opportunities for the industry and for us through the language study. With that, unless you have some questions about what I've spoken about already, I will go into stats. Okay.
Take it away.
Okay. So the monthly trips for February of 24, 1,197,380. That's compared to 1,085,426 in 2023. Revenue per trips in February 2024, $21.10. In 2023, that was $18.41. Lease revenue per trips, $21.64. In 23, it was $19.08. Monthly combined trip comparisons for 2024. This year, right now, we're at 2,278,668. I'm not sure what the comparison would be for the first 2 months of the year last year, right now. The year-to-date comparison, February 2024, 1,463, and in 2023, it was 1,051. I'm assuming a lot of these numbers are probably going up. We had Super Bowl in February, so I think that's probably a reason why. The medallions haven't changed. We're still at 3,530. These decals, 1,463. The disabled and elderly rides requested, February of 24, 1,197. Oh, I'm sorry. The disabled was 1,037. For the elderly, 813. From January, it was 1,121 and 805, so fairly comparable there. Credit card transactions. 746,508, and in January 649,068. Our agency stats: we had 41 citations written, 44 violations, including impound specials 3, no CPCNs were 3. Total number of violations resolved were 42. The total number of failed to appear in court were 9. Total number of waived before the hearing, no contest, 42. And total number of hearings held was 3. We released 3 vehicles as well. Accidents, 332 accidents. We had 1 battery. We had 1 administrative, 1 assault, 4 assists, 1 battery. Oh, I'm sorry. The batteries are combined. I think probably the important number is the amount of events that we had is 858 events for the month. The citation violation reports, we had 42, which I had mentioned earlier. Cabs and service, it's at 2,950 cabs, so we're getting real close to that 3,000 cab mark. So if you have any questions about the statistics, please let me know, and we'll have Mr. Mel back next month.
Yes.
One comment. So I know these statistics, the hearings probably roll, or maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they're all in 1 month. But you had 42 citations issued and 42 no contest pleadings. That's outstanding. That means not one person challenged it.
They took their citation.
Right.
I have a question of the interim administrator. Only had 3 impounds this month. Is that a reflection of there's less illegal activity out there, or a reflection of that was a month we weren't focusing?
I believe that it's not what you first said. I think the illegal activity is still out there. I think a couple of things came into play this last month with Super Bowl. It was difficult to do impound enforcement because we were spread so thin in other areas. So I think that's part of it. But we also wanted to kind of take a look more at citations this last month and probably this next month as well.
Yeah. And I understand that every period of time, you'll have a different focus, and that's why I was curious as to, because I noticed that number was just not what it had been.
I had specifically talked with our staff about citations this past
Okay.
month, so.
I understand. I'm finished.
Okay. Legal counsel's report. We don't have a DAG today. Do you have anything to impart upon us, Ms. Webb?
I just wanted to say, with respect to the application, that I did attempt to make the chart that you wanted. I asked for it and was told I didn't need it. But in any respect, I put together our description, hoping that would help, because I know it was a long road to follow that one. And so next time we'll make sure we have a chart that might be easier to follow.
Just so I can read it.
Me too.
No, and my comment to that is,
Yeah.
I appreciate your effort. I think you guys are going above and beyond, doing your job and everything else. I appreciate Chairman Reeser's comment and suggestion to Interim Director Park that they add that to the application process, because it should be on the applicant. It shouldn't be on your office to try and decipher 2 inches here and 2 inches there of complicated corporate and wills, trust, and estates knowledge. So,
I appreciate that.
yes.
Anything else? Brings us to the future agenda items. Anybody have any?
I do not.
Vice Chair?
I do not, sure.
Okay. I had just one question, actually, and I should have asked a minute ago. What are the opportunities from the language study? You said that it opens opportunities.
Well, I'm hoping for some grant money is what I'm hoping.
Okay. Like an interpreter or something like that?
Whatever that looks like. I don't know enough about the study yet. We've just been asked to try to gather the information, and that's my goal. That's what I'm hoping for.
Maybe next time bring a list of all the dialects, the 30 or so dialects, just so we can make that a part of our record.
Okay, I'm not sure I could pronounce them all myself.
Just have somebody tell them out.
Certainly, I'll bring that next time.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Administrator, I would like you to consider bringing before us a staff proposed special events surcharge for electronic daisy chain. I'm kind of concerned that we're going to be behind the 8 ball on that. Since we can sua sponte investigate rates without an application. And I will share also that depending on what you report to us on April relative to that, we can electronic, it's May 17 through 19. Thank you for looking that up for us. So it's
May, correct?
May 17, yeah. So we would, to not be behind the 8 ball, we'll probably have to make a decision at the April meeting.
Can we also ask industry to come up with a plan, their plan as well?
If they want to, I don't want to be dependent on them to
Right.
whether they think it's a good idea or not.
Right, but I think we should put the onus on them to come up with a plan, even if the agency is, because this is a public safety issue. There's no transport. There are 180,000 people going to the Speedway and back every day for 3 to 5 days. And if they can't get rides, they're walking down Las Vegas Boulevard in the middle of the night. So it's a huge safety issue, and I think the industry ought to have some kind of a plan as well.
So I don't disagree with you at all, Member Decker, because it is a public safety issue and because the industry may or may not think it's worth their economic interest. I think we need to look into it.
I'm good.
You know. But yeah, if they want to have control over their destiny, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine too. To that point, I also believe that that will give us, if such a surcharge were put in place, that should give us 4 data points in our pilot programs, from which in roughly in, and I'm asking at April, you tell us whether it's doable or not, July or August timeframe, the board could see a staff suggestion on a permanent kind of surcharge order that would take care of this. We heard today the industry's thinking about doing it at the end of the year. I don't know that we're going to see any new data points that we can't use what we have now to get to this point ourselves. We have 4 different kinds of unique events. So I think we'll want the data from the March Madness tournament, and then we'll want the data from electronic daisy chain, and that should be able to bracket the kinds of events that we would want to look at, such that we're not doing this on a piecemeal basis. The piecemeal basis I agree with because it's a pilot and statistics, but I think we need to kind of cut to the chase. So that's kind of those are my 2 agenda requests, one for April and then probably one for July or August, depending on your staffing.
EDC is kind of its own animal.
It is its own animal. It's a
completely
different kind of, it's a different kind. That's why I'm saying it. But we've seen Super Bowl's a major event at a single venue. And March Madness is, and this is just my view, is business as usual, but big, but outsized business by comparison. And then F1 is like it completely shuts down the center strip kind of example. And then electric daisy chain is the example of its long hauling empty one way and coming back people the other way.
It is its own animal, but it's the same every year.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to say that I believe that the surcharge needs to address the difference in geography. I think that's what we're talking about. No, people don't, I mean, other than obviously F1 shuts down streets, but whether it's March Madness or the Super Bowl, people are coming in and out of the same area.
Yeah.
Similar experience. Right. But when you go to the Speedway, whether it's for a NASCAR event or for EDC or whatever it is, it's a whole different animal. And so the surcharge probably needs to overcome that obstacle. Yeah. I'll be happy if we get it right on the first one and can use that as an example. I'm not guessing we will. I hope industry will step in and help the agency address the problem. But I do think it's a public safety issue that we've let go on for too long. It needs to be addressed. Yeah.
So any other items for agenda that people are excited about to having? No?
I'm good.
Okay. That takes us, concludes agenda item 7, and that takes us on to agenda item 8. This is our second public comment session. This is on our agenda pursuant to Nevada open meeting law, and it's an opportunity for members of the public to address us in matters within the jurisdiction of the board. While we can't take action, we welcome any comments from the public. Is there any member of the public present in the hearing room who would like to provide comment? Seeing none, is there anybody participating remotely who would like to publicly comment? comment? No? Okay, so we have no public comment for agenda item 8. That takes us to agenda item 9, adjournment. I would have never sworn we'd get done in an hour today. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. Decker and Soderberg. Any comments? Anybody want to stay longer? No? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Is that how it is?